I've been at Lightbeam since May of 2019, so that's about 3.5 years, and I lead the Lightbeam Clinical Services team. Lightbeam Clinical Services is a staffing augmentation, so in population health, once you've determined what your problem areas are, where the financial strain is, and you've determined what programs you want to put in place to run those, finding a warm body to actually do the work sometimes is difficult. There's staffing constraints right now across the industry. We know that. Nursing is at a shortage. So we have nurses. We have the staff to augment your staff or take over to do those programs so you're successful. Well, my background is nursing. I'm a nurse. I've been a nurse for 22 years. Started in the ICU, did that for a while, then had a light bulb moment that made me kind of shift from the bedside nursing into care management, which brought me down the path to where I'm at now with Lightbeam Clinical Services. The ICU is a tough place, and you see a patient in a very short window of time, so you've got them before they come into the hospital. You don't know what happens to them, and once you get them stabilized and moved out, then you don't know what happens to them then either. So I had a patient come in that was super sick. He was there for a long time with me in the ICU, and as he was getting better and we were moving him out, we were talking, and I realized pretty quickly that he was doing things that were inhibiting his health that he didn't even realize. He didn't know what he was doing was hurting him. You know, an example is he had a neighbor that had passed away that said he could have all of his old medications because the man couldn't afford medications. So he was taking expired pills, he was taking things that weren't good for him, that weren't prescribed to him, thinking that he was doing the right thing, but not really realizing that he was really hurting himself. His wife had passed away 6 months before. He didn't have a driver's license, so he wasn't going to his doctor's appointments. It makes me cry. And he didn't realize that, on paper, when you look at him, when you're talking about population health, he's a high ER utilizer, he's non-adherent, he's non-compliant, and he was none of those things. He wanted to be a good patient and take care of himself. He just didn't have the resources. So it got me to this place where I felt like leaving the ICU and going into the care management world, I could help people like him stay out of the ICU in the first place. So that's kind of where my passion lies and why I'm doing what I'm doing. From a personal perspective, a culture perspective, I love the people that I work with. I love the fun things that we get to do in our off time. I like the days when we end the day with something fun, like we'll have an impromptu ping pong tournament at the end of the day, and I called myself a lifer. I'm never leaving. The first Thanksgiving was 2019, and they had a potluck, and so everybody, brings in something for the potluck, just like a normal potluck. And then I didn't realize that the way they did it at Lightbeam wasn't just you got your plate, then you went back to your desk. No, they had the entire office decorated and set out with the tables, so it was family-style dinner. And they shut the office down for an hour. We all sat down, gave thanks, ate our Thanksgiving meal, and then went back to work. And it felt like a real family environment, and I think there's people that probably had, family overseas that was the only chance they got to kind of sit down and give thanks.